Tanuraborat. Nishbis, we said that a husband has an obligation to redeem his wife if she's taken captive. Very bottom of 52a. Very bottom. Right there on the bottom. Very bottom. Yeah, they asked 10 times her value. The ransom note. Pam Rishona Poder. The first time, the Chachomim, it's a rabbinic obligation. You have to redeem your wife. First time, even 10 times, if you could afford it, you have an obligation. Kan ve'elech rotza poder rotzena poder. Afterwards, even for the value, he has no obligation to pay. A person only has to redeem his wife once. Let's say she's taken captive again, he has no obligation. That's the rabbinic obligation. Then you're no different than the rest of the community, right? If the husband wants to, that's his prerogative. But to say that it's all upon him, see, the first time the Bezdin could actually seize his money if he doesn't want and pay for it. After the first time, he's not obligated to do more than anybody else. So therefore, if he chooses yes, not. Reb Shimon Gamliel Omer, no. Ein podin sashvuin yoser al kadei demein. They tikkun olam. The original legislation that you have to redeem a wife or anybody, it's never more than the value of the person. Why? Tikkun olam. So Rashi says, because if you're going to accustom the goyim, and they'll know they can ask anything they want, they're going to be kidnapping Jews continuously, right? So for face value, it may not be worth their while. But for multiple value, that's definitely worth their while. Podin. Yeah, but it seems to be, according to Shimon Gamliel, that but the value of the person, they do have an obligation to redeem. Even though the value of the ransom is more than the ksuba, more than the dowry that she brought into the marriage. Uramini, we learned in the Bryce Nishbis for Yimvakshimeno Ada Sorach Bechsubaso. Yeah, 10 times the value of a ksuba. Pamri Shonapoder. First time you have to, the husband have an obligation. Kan ve'elech rotzapoder rotzenu poder. That's similar to Tanakama we just had. Shimgali Omer. So here it says, if the ransom amount was the equivalent of the ksuba, not more, poder, then even the first time he has an obligation. But if it's more, im lavenu poder, even the first time he has no obligation to redeem her. So what do you see, Reb Shimon Gamliel? Reb Shimon Gamliel, not only is he lenient for the husband, that more definitely not, but even if it's more than the equivalent of the ksuba, even that not. Reb Shimon Gamliel Omer, Trey Kuli is late. He holds 2 leniencies, meaning not more than it's more than her value, and not only that, and not more than the ksuba. It says that if she became ill, he has to pay for her medical expenses. Listen to this. Now, a husband has an obligation to feed his wife. So why is physical feeding her? Why is it different than every day she needs medication? So that's also, what's the difference between physical food or medication? She has to be attended to by a doctor. That's a physical need. So that is included in what? In sustaining a wife. That's your obligation. Almana widow is supported for her food from the assets from the estate of the Yisomim. So means even if they're minors. You hear this? Utsricha refuah. And if she needs healing, whether it's medication, doctor attention, harikim zonus, that's like sustenance. That's the same thing as sustenance. If it's a set amount, let's say it's a set amount, the fee is set. No, which means, let's say the doctor says she needs 1 surgery, costs so much money. You don't take that out of the Yisomim don't have to pay for that from the estate. That comes out of the dowry that she brought into the marriage. She'ein lo kitzur harikim zos. Why? What a woman, let's say she wants to eat, right? She wants a second portion. What, you only put on a plate enough that she should survive? As much as she needs, you give her. I mean, we're not talking about she's abusing the privilege. So what is it? It's an unknown number. So feeding a wife is unknown. So if the medical need is similar to food, so that's mazonos. Of course, it's an ongoing need, and you can't quantify that need. But let's say it's a one-time medical procedure. So that's not similar to mazonos. So the husband never obligated himself, right, that has to be paid. Omer Yochanan, also hakozes dam be'eretz Yisrael kerefuah she'ein lo kitzvah. You know this? In Eretz Yisrael, they would actually continuously let blood for their health. Whether it's once a month, it would be a continuous procedure that people would do. This is for blood pressure, right? They put the cardiologists out of business. That's all. You can let blood once a month, your blood pressure was stabilized. So what? Afterwards, yeah. Okay. So as a result of that, so what is it? It's an ongoing. Anything which is ongoing, that's mazonos. Listen, Krevi de Rabbi Yochanan Hava lei Isis Abba. How does he translate that? The relative of Rabbi Yochanan Hava lei Isis Abba. Okay? Yeah. The Hava Tzricha. It was what? The wife. No, it was the wife of the father. It's Itza, the father. It doesn't have to be his mother. It was a wife. A wife. It's the wife of the father. It doesn't have to be their mother. Yeah. And she needed food. So again, so Rabbi Yochanan himself was what? Was responsible, right? Kol Yoma Osul Kamei, Rabbi Yochanan. Every day they would come to Rabbi Yochanan. Omar Lahu, he said to them, Ezilu Kutzila Midi L'Rofe. He would say, what's his name? He would say, you have to set aside a certain amount of money to pay for the doctor. She needs medical attention. Omar Rabbi Yochanan Osinu Asmi Korche Adam Yonim. After Rabbi Yochanan says, so Rashi, what's Orche Adayonim? He says, all of a sudden we became the advocates over here. We became like the lawyers. So therefore we have to disqualify himself. Meaning I have to remove myself. Initially he said, of course you do it. Then afterwards he says, no, we made us Orche Adayonim. We have no right to pass judgment. My sovar, mikor my sovar. What did he originally hold, and what did he afterwards? What did he hold afterwards? Mikor sovar umsorchal lotisali. Initially held, it says you're not supposed to turn a blind eye from your flesh. That if your relative needs help, you help. So if sovar odom choshev shiny, even though that's true, but since he's a person of status, what are people going to say? People are going to say you're doing the wrong thing. Second. Yeah. No. Rashi says not this way. Rashi says, just as a lawyer tries to build a case for his client, I try to build a case for the mother of my father because I had this conflict, so to say. So he said, but factually it's true. But again, because he was a certain stature, he says, I have to remove myself from the case. So what he said could have been right. Lo kosav lo binin dichrin. Right? We said, what's binin dichrin? That when he dies, let's say a man is married, marries a woman, she brings a dowry into the state. And now the mother dies, his wife dies. So who inherits the wife? The husband. What happens now? The father dies. So now the dowry of the wife is part of the estate. Now he has children from other wives. Who inherits that dowry? So they legislated that the one who inherits the dowry are the children of that mother, of that woman. Here, Norman. Even though all children inherit equally of a father, but since the origin of this asset is the mother of these kids, and who inherited that? The father. So really, on a Torah level, who should they should all divide equally. But since it was brought in by the mother, so now that the father dies, that dowry, whatever's left of it, goes to the children of that woman. No, we'll see. Even if it's not, because that was a legislation of Chazal, that since this is the right of a what, so even if you don't write it into the ksuba, it's as if it's written into the ksuba. We'll see. Lo kosev lo b'nin dichrin the heavy lechem yinoi erin yarsav kesef ksubosech. He didn't write that into the ksuba. The male children that you will have from me, they will inherit the ksuba kesef ksubosech. Yesal chokein dima chayon. more than their share in the estate than their brothers. Meaning brothers from another mother. Chayov. He has still, even though it's not inserted in the document, that goes to the children of that woman. Why? Because that originally was legislated by the courts. Whether you write in the document, don't write in the document, it's the obligation that must go to the children of the mother, of the woman. What about the nukvin, the heavy lechem? You have a yasvin the basic. Chazal legislated that if a man has daughters who are up to 12 and a half years old, that even though daughters are not heirs in the place of sons, right, they're not heirs, but nevertheless, until they become fully adults, they have to provide for them whatever their sustenance is from the estate. So it says, the female children that I have from you, Yehavin Yasum Vesi, they will live in my house, Umizin Minichsi, and they will be sustained, supported from the Chosim, Ati Lochel Govrin, until they will be taken by men, until they're married. Chayov, even that was not written in the document, the brothers must give of the estate to the sisters. Shutanai Bezdin, because that was legislated by the Bezdin. Ate Yas Besim Zonim Minichsi Kol Yimei Meger Al Nosech Bevesi. Normally, a husband writes into the ksuba. A wife is also supported from the estate. Let's say he didn't write it into the estate. As long as you're a widow and you live in my house, and everything will be provided for you. Chayov. Shutanai Bezdin, because again, that was legislative court. Kach Hoyu Achi Yerushalayim Kosvin. The members of the Yerushalayim community, that's what they would write in the ksuba. Achi Golil Hoyu Kosvin Kanche Yerushalayim. The people lived up in the Golil would write in the ksuba similarly to the people in Yerushalayim. Achi Yehuda. What about people who lived in Yehuda? Hoyu Kosvin Achi Yerushua Yorshin Litain Loch Subosech. Meaning, no, if the Yorshim, they want to pay out the ksuba. Meaning, once the woman collects the ksuba, she doesn't get supported anymore, because that means she's ready to move on. So therefore, if she chooses never to take the ksuba, they have to continue to support her. In Yehuda, it's up to the heirs. If they're ready to pay out the ksuba, that's the end of the payment. You understand? So what do? So the Hayukosid, Achi Yerusha, Yorshin, Litain Lo Ksubasech. Once the Yorshin want to pay out your ksuba, only until then you get your expenses covered. So therefore, nosen lo ksubaso. So if the Yorshim choose to pay out the ksuba, they give the ksuba, poacher in osa, and they let her go. Right? But in Golil and Yerushalayim, that's not the way to conduct themselves. As long as the wife didn't initiate the payout, she stays there forever. Okay? You with me? Why did Chazal legislate that the dowry, which is brought in by the mother, goes to the children, to the sons of the woman, although the father initially inherited it? When the mother died, who inherited the dowry? The father. Now the father dies. Now that part of the inheritance is not counted together with the rest. That goes to her children, and the rest they divide equally. Right? No. There's two separate things. The mother, a man's married to Leah and Rachel. Rachel brings a dowry into the marriage. Rachel dies. So who inherits the dowry? Yaakov. Right? Yaakov inherits the dowry. Now Yaakov passes away. So now Yaakov has an estate. Within that estate is included the dowry. That dowry will remove from the estate. Whatever's Yaakov's estate, all the sons divide equally. That dowry, which he inherited from Rachel, that goes to the children of Rachel, not to the children of Leah. Right? So the question, but why did they legislate? If the father inherited, like all the rest of the estate, you divide equally, divide this equally. Right? That's the Gemara's question. What's the reason? Because we want the father, he should provide something for his daughter as he provides for the son. A son naturally inherits. A daughter doesn't. So Chazal wanted that the daughter should get, meaning a dowry. I mean, he's giving it in his lifetime, correct? But ultimately, this is going to go to her children. So it's as if she inherited that amount of money from her father, right? Yeah, but it's the grandchildren. The sons of that daughter will get the dowry when their father dies. Okay? That a person should be eager to write for the daughter like he wrote for a son, right? Because ultimately, the father-in-law will realize my money's not going lost. Man says, what, I can give my daughter a dowry? No, it's going to be. Ultimately, his children from another wife to take my money, I'm not writing a dowry. But since ultimately it's going to come back to his grandchildren from his daughter, okay, he has no reason not to. Okay? No, two separate things. This is when they get married. Why did they... We want to encourage a father to give dowry to his daughter when he's alive. When he's alive. Inheritance is only when he dies. Because we want that a father should give his daughter of his estate as he gives to his son. So the Gemara asks question. The Torah says the father has no reason to give to his daughter, for later. So why all of a sudden Chazal, they're enacting something which the Torah doesn't prescribe? Right? The Gemara is going to ask the question. But she's getting when the father's alive, he's giving the dowry. The father's alive here. Right. We'll see. So Gemara says, Omika midid Rachmon Omar. Bra leiris, brata lo leiris. The Torah says a son is an heir, a daughter is not an heir. If there's a son, the daughter is not an heir. V'osher rabbanim misakni the teros brato. And yet now they say, no, we want the daughter in a certain way. She should also be an heir. So how do we make her into an heir? The father, he gives her a dowry before he passes away. So that part of the estate is reserved for her for later. But why? Gemara says the chsiv. It's based on the pasuk. It says in the pasuk, "Chunoshim v'olidu banim." You should marry and what? And you will have sons and daughters. When you have sons, you'll take wives for your sons. And your daughters you will give to men. I mean, you'll marry off your daughters. Someone says, regarding sons, it's easy to marry off a son because a son, as a man, has a more outgoing personality. He encourages the son to go seek out a wife. A wife doesn't seek out a husband. So how do you get a wife? How does a man marry off his daughters? Right? It's considered immodest for a woman to go pursue a man. Ella, what do they do? Ella bati mikayim biyodei hokayiv malon. So what does it mean? The nilbisho v'nichsei v'neisev lo midi keich the kaptzi aloch vosi nasbi lo. You hear this? That he should clothe her in nice clothing, that she should be attractive, give her a handsome dowry, so men should be attracted to her. So she's not actually pursuing men, but men will be attracted to her because she has a handsome dowry. And because the pasuk says a father has to marry off his daughter like he marries off his son. Okay? So that's the first point of the dowry. So, but if actually the dowry ultimately is going to somebody else's children, the man is not writing the dowry. So we want it, there should be an incentive. Not you're marrying off your daughter. Not only that, ultimately, this dowry is going to be reserved to your grandchildren. It's not going to somebody else's children. Okay? So Merzavat Kamo. How much of the estate does the father give to his daughter? Right? He should give up to 1/10 of his estate. He gives to his daughter. Here, up to 1/10. Because again, the whole idea, a person says, I'll give 50% of my estate. It's the wrong thing. This is for the dowry. The emo, the av leiros, the baal lo leiros. What are we saying? Factually, we say the husband inherits a wife, right? A husband inherits a wife. What do we say? The husband inherits the wife. So the husband initially inherits the dowry, and then afterwards he gives it to the grandchildren, his grandchildren. What do we say? Let the father inherit the dowry. When his daughter dies, the dowry should come back to him. Right? Im Cain. Of Nami, 1 second. Vema the of Leiros, the Baal lo Leiros. Let the father should inherit, the husband should not inherit. Im Cain. Of Nami Mimna v'lo Kosov. what's the Gemara's answer? Because a person will refuse then to write the dowry. I don't see why not. Why not? It's going to come back to him. What's the Gemara's question? Gemara's question is, let's say the father should inherit and not the husband. Oh, what is he explaining it over there? The father should, the Gemara says, let the father inherit and not the husband, because we're saying the husband inherits the dowry and passes it on to her children. Yeah.
The sages and instituted that the sons inherit their mother's ketubah.
Right,
so
right.
Men will give adequate dowry to their daughters. It should be sufficient to institute that the sons inherit only the dowry portion of the ketubah. There's no reason why they should inherit the statutory.
No. This is before that. It's later. It's right later. The Gemara says before that.
Oh, here. The father will feel that if the husband is so resentful towards leaving property specifically to the daughter's children, his grandchildren, then he, the father, will withhold a large dowry from the husband.
No, but the Gemara is asking. Let us say the father should inherit, not the he says. Imkain av nami mimna lo kosav. The father will withhold the dowry. Why? Because what? Because the husband's will be resentful. That's what he explains it. The Gemara's question is: let the father inherit and not the husband. So he says what? Because what? Then the husband will be resentful, and that will cause the father not to want to give the dowry to the husband because he'll be resentful of his daughter. Is that what he says? Uh-huh. I got the question. I have it. No, like this. He inherits, not only the kids inherit the dowry, they inherit the ksuba that was meant to go to their mother. So you say the dowry makes sense, right? Because the man's not going to give. But why should he get the ksuba? They're getting more than what the father gave. Right? Right? The av leiras bal imkain of nami mimna v'lokosav. Because if they're not going to inherit her ksuba, the father's not going to give her large dowry. Look, I'm happy to do mine, but you got to do yours for my grandchildren. My daughter's meant to get a ksuba. Right? And whatever you committed, the father gives a dowry, the husband commits himself to his wife. Right? So she predeceases the husband. When he dies, not only did he get the dowry, they get the ksuba, what was meant to go to the mother. Right? Why? Why should they get the answer is because if they're not going to get that, what was meant to go to his daughter, man says, you don't give yours, I don't give mine. That means you're going to pocket what was meant to be my daughter's. If he would have predeceased his daughter, who would have gotten the ksuba? The daughter would have gotten the ksuba. Right? She's a widow. What happened? He predeceased his wife. She predeceased her husband. So what happens to the ksuba? There's no ksuba paid out, right? Excuse me. What's this? No, they shouldn't get it whatsoever. The answer is, if his grandchildren don't take ksuba, says, you don't do yours, I'm not doing mine. So they'll give a smaller dowry. You understand? People could be unreasonable. If a person is, let's say, feels, you don't do yours, I'll do mine. What do you mean? But you doing yours, you're helping your daughter. But factious, but he won't do it. So unless he feels the husband does what he should be doing, he's not going to do what he should be doing. So therefore, we say, not only did the grandchildren inherit the dowry, they inherit the ksuba that was meant to be their mother's, which comes from where? Out of the father's pocket. Because otherwise, you should say that you go into the estate, divide everything equally. Right? Okay? Someone asks, Emo, Hecha de Kosevav, Lichtov, Baal. Hechlo Kosevav, Lichtov, Baal. Lo plug rabbanon. He says, so let's say a father doesn't give a dowry to his daughter. He didn't give. If that's the case, the husband shouldn't write in the ksuba that when I die, the ksuba belongs to the what? Right? We say you pay the ksuba. The ksuba has to be paid out to the children. But if we're saying the only reason why I'm saying that is to encourage the father to give a dowry, so let's say a father has no obligation to give a dowry. If he's smart, he has the means. Let's say a father can't afford to give a dowry, or he's a miser. He doesn't want to give a dowry. So maybe the husband says, you know something, that's the case. I don't have to give the ksuba. Low plug. We don't make differentiation. Since a father usually does give a dowry, so therefore the wife's children will always inherit the ksuba. We don't make differentiations. Okay?
But if the father couldn't afford it, the children didn't get the...
No, that doesn't make. They could be 40 years old when their mother dies, when the father dies. Even 50, they're self-sufficient. They still have a right to get the ksuba of the mother. It's not because they're self-sufficient. These people. We're not talking about they're orphans. They're minor orphans. No, they're adults. No. No. Before we're speaking, where the father dies and the children, does the mother get from the estate to support her? Right? Or the sisters get from the estate to support them? We said yes, even if they're minors. Here we're talking about something else. We're talking about the children collecting as an inheritance. Right? That's what we're saying, speaking of. Okay? Bas ben abonim, nami teres kenachlo. Nami terus, kenachshe rabbonon. 1 second. What's the Gemara say? Bas ben teros, yesh lo koach min ha'isha achas, ubeos min ha'cheres, titol bas hayechido ksubas imo, leresh nedunyas avi imo, nami shava kenachlo, yesh mishpat nachlo, lebas ben abonon. 1 second. Bas ben abonos, yeah. Yesh lo bas min ha'isha acheres. One second. I'm not sure what the Gemara's question is. Let's see Rashi. We want to differentiate between. We're saying if the grandchildren, the grandsons of the male sons of that woman get the dowry, and it doesn't go into estate divide with the other brothers. What about if you have a granddaughter? Not sons. There's no bidin dichron. There's no male children. Granddaughters. Does she take the dowry of her mother?
Yes.
No, it says before we said it's the sons, the male sons.
Right. But if there are no sons,
No, she doesn't. Then she divides with the other. She divides with the other. We treat her like a daughter. See, a daughter is not an heir. See, a daughter is not an heir if they're males.
I thought the Kemach had to come from the dowry, that she would be getting
No, we're not talking about.
supported.
Not talking supporting. To get a lump sum now, to put it in a pocket.
So you can't do that, but she supported somehow.
No, she supported from the estate. That's separate.
So then,
That's the estate. No, but that's not inheritance.
uh-huh.
That's not. We're talking about an inheritance. We say if there's sons of the woman, even though there are other sons, they have that. They take that out of the estate. They put that in their pocket. Correct?
So this is what we just talked about before.
Sons of the mother, because the sons are heirs. Even if they're other sons, they're heirs. If they're heirs, they get, in addition to the regular portion in the estate, they get the dowry. What about if the endixu both? Because they're heirs.
The girls just get supported.
They get so that. But the question is why we say the same thing, same rationale. The grandfather gave it. Let it go to his granddaughter. The answer is a granddaughter is not an heir. If in the place of sons, a granddaughter is not inheriting. Right? No, the sons. He has sons from other wives. Right? They have brothers and sisters. So when there's, even though they have sisters, right? The daughters don't inherit if they're sons. So you want her to inherit the dowry, but she's not an heir. Right? If there's other sons, the sons from that daughter, so they're heirs like the other sons are heirs. If you're an heir, you inherit the dowry from your grandfather, from your mother. That's how we make the differentiation. Always that way. But they're still supported from the estate. That's separate. 1 second. Let's read. Baspein abonim namitiris. Right? Why only sons among sons that they get the nedunya, the dowry? What about a daughter among sons? She should also get it. So he says no. They treat it like a nachlo, like an inheritance. A daughter is not an heir if they're sons. So therefore she doesn't get the dowry. See, but it's not enough for the grandfather to refuse to give it, because does he know whether his daughter's going to have sons or sons or girls? He doesn't know. So he's going to give it because he thinks there'll be boys and his grandsons will inherit the dowry. Okay? Bas ben abonos tiras. Okay, now we're asking a good question. Now it's a phenomenal question. So what about if you have, let's say they're only daughters. So now she is an heir. A daughter with other daughters, she's an heir. So maybe there she should get the dowry. Right? We're saying the only reason why a daughter with a son, she doesn't get it because she's not an heir. So if now all the girls are heirs. So maybe now she should inherit the dowry of a mother. They are heirs. No. The daughters are the heirs. If there's no sons, the daughters are the full heirs. That's explicit in Torah. That's the story of Bnos Tzlofchot. They were only girls. They inherited. So now we have a good question. So if you have only girls, now she's an heir. She's an heir. She shouldn't inherit. On that, the Gemara says, "Lo plug rabbanon." No, not they don't argue. We don't want to make a differentiation. Sometimes yes, sometimes not. It gets confusing. We say girls don't get, because since you have a case where you have a daughter and you have sons, she's not called an heir. All of a sudden now she's an heir. She is going to get. We say she doesn't get. They only legislated, it's been in Dichrin, for the male grandchildren. Because male grandchildren are always heirs. A granddaughter is not always an heir. Therefore, even when she is an heir, she doesn't get the dunya. She doesn't get the dowry. It's clear.
So could you make the case here that it's
No, that's next more. The sigvi mitaltlik, kichsuba shaver rabona. No. An heir we don't differentiate.
So how do we know the slough?
1 second. Has nothing to do with, what does slough have to do with this?
She inherited. They inherit property only? Or that's the right question.